Hello, I'm Gary, and welcome to another episode of Physical Format Rock and Roll. Wasn't really planning on doing a video this quick today, but I was watching my buddy over the flip side, Vinyl Community with JC, and he talked about one of these vinyl community threads started by Chris Profe, who I had not heard of before until this point. I went over and checked out his channel, and looks pretty cool. And I've never done one of these vinyl community threads before, so I thought, you know what the heck, I'm going to start with it. And what it is you pick any band and you pick their fifth album. He got that when you add up, 2, 0, 2, 1, you come up with 5. So he said, pick the fifth album and talk about it for a little bit. So that's what I'm going to do. And the album that I decided to go with was by Heart, Bebe Le Strange. So this was their fifth album, and there's the back of it. You can see the back of their heads and the band members. Got the nice big curly hair going on at that time, looking pretty good. This was released on Valentine's Day, actually in 1980. It's kind of a transitional album for the band because Roger Fisher, who was their lead guitar player, who his guitar work and all those earlier Heart records got a lot of great guitar work going on in there. And he was also a founding member. He was no longer in the band. He had his partying ways and whatever were getting to be too much. That and the fact that him and Nancy used to be an item for quite a while, and she was no longer seeing him, but she was dating the drummer, Mike DeRozier. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. So that was causing a lot of friction, as you can probably guess, in the band. So he was gone. Anne, who I think she was done by this time with Michael Fisher, who would be Roger's brother, and he was a manager of the band, so he was kind of losing a little more control of the band or whatever. So with Roger gone, Michael kind of fading out of the picture a little bit, Ann and Nancy pretty much take complete control of the band. Not that it always was their band, but now it was really their band, okay? The two sisters were in total control. Howard Leese, who stayed with the band for many years, became the lead guitar player. So now you have his playing on there. Howard Leese, obviously another great lead guitar player. But it changed the sound of the band a little bit. They were kind of, it still got, it's still into the whole 70s rock vein, but it's kind of changing a little bit. Heart would kind of go through some other transitions. I think the next album might have been Private Audition, which is kind of all over the place. It took them a while. Then, of course, they got into their 80s hits and that type of music that they did in there. So this is kind of almost like the last of the great Heart albums from the 70s. Heart still did a lot of great stuff. I'm not saying that, but this is like an end of an era, beginning of a new era type thing. This album is harder edged at different times. It's got more soul in it at different times. Ann's vocals sound amazing on this album, as they normally do. She's one of the best singers in rock. You had hits. Even It Up was the big hit off the album, that's a great rocker. I don't even mind the horns at the end. I'm normally not too much into horns in rock, but they sound pretty cool on there. I think it was done by Tower of Power. Bebe Le Strange itself was kind of a minor hit. It's kind of I don't know how to describe that song, a little bit of a kind of a more funky rocker at times. But then they have other songs that are kind of different sounding for Heart from what you would expect a little bit. Like Strange Night is almost a metal song. That's a pretty hard song, different sounding for Heart. I would look that up if you're not familiar with it. There's a cool instrumental that Nancy does on acoustic guitar. It's fairly short, called Silver Wheels. That leads, I think that's the one that leads into Break. The song Break is almost kind of has a punk rock edge to it. It definitely a different sounding song for Heart. And then they also have another highlight is Rockin' Heaven Down, which is a little bit longer. That's more of a traditional sounding Heart song. It's definitely got its Led Zeppelin influence going on in that song. That's a really good one. Side 2 ends with like a few ballads, kind of slower songs. They're all good, but you know, they're not necessarily the highlights of the album for me, even though, of course, and sounds really good on them. So overall, it's a pretty good album. Like I say, it's a little bit different. You know, I think the album that came before that was Heart and the Dog and the Butterfly. Dog and a Butterfly. So you know, there's quite a bit of a change going on there, and you know, Heart, I think, eventually got back to the more 70s sound, but they always kind of kept this. And so, like I say, big transitional album. If you've never heard it, go back, listen to the entire album. Besides just the hits, it's got some pretty cool stuff on it. So anyway, that's my contribution to Chris Profe's vinyl community thread, is Bebe Le Strange by Heart. Remember, you can always check us out on Facebook and Twitter. I'm Gary. This is Physical Format Rock and Roll. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't. I love any comments you'd care to make, and maybe keep this thread going. So I will see you down the road.